विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। दोर्भिर्युक्ता चतुर्भिस्फटिकमणिमयीम् अक्षमालां ददाना हस्तेनैकेन पद्मं सितमपि च शुकं पुस्तकं चापरेण भासा कुन्देन्दुशङ्ख स्फटिकमणिनिभा भासमाना समाना सा मे वाग्देवतेयं निवसतु वदने सर्वदा सुप्रसन्ना। पूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलं। वाल्मीकिर्मुनिसिंहस्य कवितावनचारिणः शृण्वन् रामकथानादं को न याति परां गतिं। यः पिबन् सततं रामचरितामृतसागरम् अतृप्तस्तं मुनिं वन्दे प्राचेतसमकल्मषम्। गोष्पदीकृतवाराशिं मशकीकृतराक्षसं रामायणमहामाला रत्नं वन्दे नीलात्मजं। यत्र यत्र रघुनाथकीर्तनं तत्र तत्र कृतमस्तकाञ्जलिं बाष्पवारि परिपूर्णलोचनं मारुतिं नमत राक्षसान्तकम्। वैदेही सहितं सुरद्रुमतने हैमे महामण्डपे मध्ये पुष्पकमासने मणिमये वीरासने सुस्थितम्। अग्रे वाचयति प्रभञ्जनसुते तत्त्वं मुनिभ्यः परं व्याख्यान्तं भरतादिभिः परिवृतं रामं भजे श्यामलम्। नमोऽस्तु रामाय सलक्ष्मणाय देव्यै च तस्यै जनकात्मजायै नमोऽस्तु रुद्रेन्द्रयमानिलेभ्यो नमोऽस्तु चन्द्रार्कमरुद्गणेभ्यः। Okay. Namaste everyone. Hari Om. Start. So last time, if you remember, we had seen, that is, we had completed the first sarga of Balakanda, popularly known as Sankshepa Ramayanam. Okay, till here, is there any doubt or you want to ask something you have not understood, or you want to share something? Anything? Anyone? Or maybe you want to even suggest something, that is also fine. No? So, should I assume that I can ask you any question then from the Sankshepa Ramayana, the 100 verses?
Okay, Mahoday.
Okay, Rajendra Kumarji has agreed. What about others? First 100 verses, is there any doubt from Sankshepa Ramayana? No. Okay. So, again, those who have not maybe missed out a few sessions, why I asked you this is, in case you missed out a few sessions or something, ensure that you listen to the audio, because Sankshepa Ramayanam very very important. And those who are not very, most of us, I assume, we are familiar with the entire Ramayana, but still there might be a few, maybe you know, you have heard about the story, but it's not very clear, and please go through the Sankshepa Ramayanam. It is the gist of the entire Ramayana. Okay, now we'll continue. We start with the second chapter of Balakanda. Now we are actually delving into Balakanda. Balakanda, the childhood stories of Rama. Now Sarga 2. Sarga 1 was entire Ramayanam, as we saw. Now what is Sarga 2? Let's have a look. In a nutshell, there are about 43 verses in this Sarga. Mainly now, the first chapter we know Valmiki Tapaswadhyaya Niratam. He wanted to write, right, about the Ramayana. He met Narada and so on. He asked the first question, what are the qualities of a man? And that's how the story, Rama tells story, telling the story of Rama. Second is, he sees a hunter near the river near the river Tamasa. Then Anushtup Chandaha, he composes a verse. Anyone knows the verse? Manishada Pratishtartvam Adamashashwati Samaha Yatkaram Chamithunadadikam Kama Mohitam, and so on. The verse goes about. So when he chanted this verse, it was actually a curse that he gave to the female bird. So two birds were sitting together, male and female, A nearby hunter came and shot an arrow. The male bird fell down, and at that time the female bird cries out for the male bird when she saw the bird fallen down, and in pity, that is, the sage was nearby, he saw this incident, he felt very bad for this bird, and as a curse to the hunter, he says that you will also be separated from your loved one. And that curse that was there turned out to be a verse, and the verse was Anushtup Chandaha. I assume everyone already knows the rules of Anushtup Chandaha. Every part of the verse, if you divide a verse into 4 parts, every part should have 8 letters in all. In all, the entire verse will have 32 letters. Each part of the verse will have 8 letters. 8 plus 8, 16 in one line, and the second line will also have 16. The entire Ramayanam, the Gita, Vishnu Sahasranama and so on. Most of the common stotras that we chant every day, they are all composed in Anushtup Chandaha. Then, so Valmiki was very much disturbed. At that time Brahma arrives there and he requests to write Valmiki the entire story of Ramayana in this same Chandas, Anushtup Chandaha. But now Valmiki, though he knew the entire story, still, because Narada had already told him, still Brahma gave him a divine vision to see the entire story in front of his eyes so that he can write properly. Next is, you have the first verse. Ma nishada pratishtham tvam agama shashvati samaha yat krauncha mithunadekam avadhiv kamamohitam. Since you have killed one of the Ma Nishada, now Ma is actually one word for goddess Mahalakshmi. It also means like in sorrow when we use this word, like an alas, how we say when we feel sad, when we feel bad for someone, at that time also this word is used. Said that you have killed one of these birds and you will permanently deprived of your position, that is of an hunter, mainly you will lose your charm. This verse is in 4 padas, each of 8 syllables, as I told you. For those who want to count, you can count Ma, Ni, Sha, Da, 4, Pratishtham, Tvam, 8. You should not consider the half letters, only full letters. Again we will count Ma 1, Ni 2, Sha 3, Da 4, Pra 5, Ti 6, Shtham 7, Tvam 8. Like this you count for Agama Shashwati Samaha, it will be 8, 8 plus 8, 16. Yat Krauncha Mithunadekam will be 8, 16 plus 8, 24. Avadhiv Kama Mohitam, again it will be 8, in all 32. So this is Anushtup Chandaha. Each part has got 8 verses in all. Padabaddoksharas samaha tantrilaya samanvitaha shokartasya pravritto me shloko bhavatu nanyata. So why this was even called as a shloka, the name itself shloka means that which is composed in a particular way. So now whenever we write, say for example you are writing a story or something, it will be in a prose manner, right? So at that time there is not going to be any rhythm, there is not going to be any system, there will not be a fixed number of words and so on. Now when we write a story, there is no limit. One sentence can have say 5 words, the next sentence may have 10 words, the third sentence might have maybe only 3 words. So there is no order, there is no system that we follow. But when we have to compose a shloka, there is a certain way you have to follow. Like one example is Anushtup Chandaha, wherein the number of letters has to be limited. It should be recited in a particular tune. So like this, these are different rules that have to be followed. So therefore, it is called a shloka. So though it was actually a grief that Valmiki, he had to express himself after seeing the sorry condition of the bird, still because it turned out to be in a tune having equal number of letters and so on, it would be called as a shloka. That is the reason the first Sanskrit poet is Valmiki and the first Sanskrit piece of literature is the Ramayanam. Therefore, if you want to study Sanskrit, after getting some knowledge of Sanskrit at a basic level, maybe little you study grammar and so on, to master Sanskrit language, it is said that all our acharyas have said, including the Shankaracharyas of all the mats, they say that if you want to study Sanskrit, you can delve very deep, you can study grammar, this, that, there is no end to it. But you must study so much Sanskrit in life that you should be able to know the meanings of the Ramayana without the translation. This level of Sanskrit all of us must study, it seems. And this will, only if you have some basic knowledge of Sanskrit you learn, and little more advanced topics you can surely, and if you try to study the Ramayana, you can surely master the Ramayana without translation, because the composition of verses in the entire Ramayana are quite easy comparatively compared to other texts, and at the same time you'll know the story. You don't have to refer to any outside source for translation. You can know the meanings for yourself. So therefore Valmiki is Ramayana is a very easy piece of Sanskrit literature. So those who are interested, you must surely have this aim and goal that if I have to study Sanskrit, I must be able to know the meanings of the Ramayana in the original form, Valmiki Ramayana. Okay. And continue. Whereas Mahabharata is quite, I'm not saying it is difficult, but then as compared to Ramayana, it is quite tough, because in that there are about 700 to 800 verses which are called Vyasa Rahasyam. Vyasa Rahasyam, very very tough. Vyasa purposely he composes those verses because he needed time to compose, and as per the conditions told by Ganesha, Vyasa should never stop reciting, and at the same time Vyasa had also put a condition saying that without understanding you should not write down anything. So purposely when he composed a bit difficult verses, it took a lot of time for Ganesha to think and comprehend on those verses. So Vyasa could get extra time to compose the next set of verses. So there were about 700 or 800 verses, that is Vyasa Rahasyam. Very difficult to study and to know the meanings of that, but at least once, all of us, we must go through that. Okay, continue. Next. Now we are going to look at Sarga 2 in gist. Next is now Brahma, he tells Narada that you go and tell the story of Rama to Valmiki so that he can start composing this epic. Machchanda devate brahman pravritteyam saraswati ramasya charitam sarvam puratvam rishi sattama. So therefore Valmiki is told that the speech that has come from your mouth, that is this first shloka in the form of a curse, it has come, you please go. And now that you know about the background, in Sarga 1 already Narada has told you about the story of Rama. So now you can do one thing is you start composing in the same meter, in the same Anushtup Chandaha, you start writing the story of Rama. Dharmatmano gunavataha loke ramasya dhimataha vrittam kathayatirasya yatha te naradat shrutam. He says you narrate the history of Rama, who is known for righteousness, dharma. We have already seen the 16 qualities of Rama, virtues, wisdom and everything that you have heard from sage Narada already. Now you start writing the epic in detail. Okay, now just a question. Rajendra Kumarji said, you say something?
Madam, there's one small doubt. When you are saying this as per Valmiki Ramayana, when I am seeing, it is little different. The lines are little different. Like 1 to 31, what I am reading, Shloka eva stavyam baddho natra karya vicharana machchanda devate brahman pravrutteyam saraswati.
That is basically the numbering is little different. That's it.
That's
it. That is fine. That usually happens in the Ramayana text that is there. That, and you see towards the end of the Sarga it will get adjusted, because a few verses will have 3-line verses, few verses will have only 1 line. So that is the reason it is done. Now why this is done, like he asked, in your books also it might be there, the numbering might be different. Okay. Now here if you see, we are not looking at the entire Ramayana, we are just picking up certain verses. So therefore you can stick to this number, but I suggest don't make the correction or anything. I am going to anyway share all this with you, but if you are noting down in the original text, if you want you can just put a bracket there so that you know, just put on those 2 lines like a side bracket so that you know these are the 2 lines. Okay. Now why this is done is some verses, some lines are 3-line verses, some shlokas will be having only 1 line. So there might be a bit, you can say in the numbering you might find a bit of difference, but that is fine. In the original Ramayana it will be there. Why this is done is sometimes in the translation. Now it depends on the publisher. If you are referring to the Gita Press version, the publisher will be different, or some other book like the Ramakrishna Mission and so on. So depending on the translator, depending on the commentator, now the shloka is the same, right? The original shloka from the Valmiki Ramayana will be the same. But when the person translates, few people maybe, now here if you see in about 2-3 lines the translation is done. Maybe one commentator, he might need 4-5 lines. So that is the reason the first verse also, in the verse also they add maybe the next shloka line also, because he might feel that these 3 lines have only one meaning, so let me combine these 3 lines, I will number the verse as well. So this is the reason why there is a difference in the numbering of the verses, but that is absolutely fine, no problem. Okay? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So now Valmiki is okay. Now before all this, I wanted to ask all of you a question. How many of you here you have read the entire Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana, all the 24,000 verses? I am not saying that only the chanting part. Along with the chanting, to some extent meaning. You have read, right? Okay. Sorry, what you are saying? Meaning you read. Okay. Okay. Shyamala ji, you have read it.
Yeah, I can read
Okay.
all the kandas in Sanskrit, and as well as in Tamil also I have read the
Read.
complete
Okay.
Ramayana.
Okay. So why I asked you this question is, in the Ramayana, if you notice to some extent, those who have read, apart now you might just keep wondering, saying that why the number is 24,000, right? Isn't it too big? Now we always look at something, even if you tell someone to read, they will say, no, I cannot read the 24,000 verses. You give me a small story book, like an abridged version or so, I will prefer to read that. Or Sankshepa Ramayana is already given, so we will read that and move on. Anyway, in 24,000 verses also the same thing is told. It's just more of elaboration and so on. So then what was the need for Valmiki to write so much in detail? Was there any need? Why did he even compose 24,000 verses? What was the need? It's the same story, right? Rama comes, Rama goes, we already saw that. You see, in certain chapters of the Ramayana, there will not be any story at all. There are about, now I'll just give an example. Yesterday I was reading the Aranyakanda wherein Shurpanakha goes and talks to Khara. Shurpanakha there, after those 14, the main principal Rakshasas were being killed, she returns back to Khara, and at that time she comes and tells Khara that you're such a useless person, all your main soldiers are killed, still you don't want to retaliate, is this how you behave, is this how you have to save your sister, and so on. She just comes and complains. When she sees that the demon Khara is not coming easily after all his main soldiers were killed, first of all he could not believe that his chief principal soldiers, army men, have been killed by Rama. So it was taking time for him to digest this fact. Moreover, he was not ready. He didn't say that I will come, or immediately he doesn't say that now next I will come in order to save you, in order to save my sister's reputation. So therefore Shurpanakha reacts there and she tells that you have not come, all your soldiers are dying but still you did not come, and so on. She starts talking on this. For this, about 22 to 23 verses, one entire sarga has been dedicated to this. I think sarga 21 of the Aranyakanda. Why I am telling you this is, when just reading the sarga and then the meanings, after knowing the meanings I understood that there is no meaning at all to this sarga. Heart means the sarga didn't want to tell anything, it is just the wailing of Shurpanakha, it's just the complaint of Shurpanakha, saying that you are not doing anything, all your soldiers have been killed, still you are not reacting, is this how you behave with your sister, and so on. That's it, when that sarga ends. So when we read such sargas, like this thought came to my mind, it can come to all of your minds also. What is the reason to do all this? You just write the entire story, right? Now I'll give you one more example. We all go and watch a movie, right? Some movies are about 2-3 hours big, and you see they are so big, and you can say the storyline can be so boring at times that nothing much happens. We say, right, it's not happening. Why do we use such terms, happening? That means the story is not moving forward very easily. Some person comes, he sits, he goes. This itself, maybe they'll show about for 45 minutes to 1 hour. There itself we start losing interest. So in the Ramayana also such things do happen. So then why did Valmiki do like this? Like if there are people who read the Ramayana like this, in this way, wherein only the case of Shurpanakha or only Rama, even the meeting of Chitrakuta, meeting of Bharata and Chitrakuta, that is for about 10 to 20 sargas, and nothing much happens. It is the same thing. Rama comes, Bharata meets, finally Bharata takes the Padukas and goes back to Ayodhya. That's it. So then why so much in detail? For this, so we get bored at times. Bored, or the story is not moving ahead. Why should I even read? If you are just doing a Parayanam, that is different. But if you want to study with the meanings, we are all interested in the story, right? Then when nothing is happening, we are like, why I don't want to read at all, we start losing interest. So like this, why did Valmiki compose so much? one aspect is he wanted to mention it is he is not using his creativity or imagination at all in this. Though his poetic genius can be seen, but still he is not writing anything of his own will. Ramayana and Mahabharata, whatever has happened, Valmiki and Vyasa do the work of report writing. So therefore everything, each and everything has to be mentioned in detail. That is the reason the entire Ramayana, Mahabharata for that matter, more than 1 lakh verses, everything has to be mentioned in detail. So whether the reader likes it, whether the audience like it, that's not of choice at all. And that's the reason why even in the case of Mahabharata also, now these are all true incidents. There were many people who used to, like in the later period after the Mahabharata had taken place, many people used to argue saying that why should even the Draupadi Vastrabharana incident, that also so much detail has been mentioned. For example, Draupadi's Vastrabharana, in that Dushasana comes there. So there it is mentioned she is Ekavastradhara. Ekavastradhara means she was at that time of the month when women have the monthly cycle. Now some people will come and argue here, and they have done this. In the commentaries when it is written as Ekavastradhara, it was said in those times that when women have their monthly cycle, the sari that women used to wear in those times, you should it used to have just one cloth. So Ekavastradhara. Now in today's sari, if you see the normal sari that most of the women wear, is either 6 yards or during special occasions it might be 9 yards, right? But earlier times it used to be 10 to 11 yards, it seems. And more than that, in North India if you go, or even in the Bengal side if you go, the way they wear the sari is quite different, right? So therefore, so Draupadi also, she belonged to that region, and she used to wear such a kind of a sari. If you just look at her pictures, it used to not be the normal sari. Or even today if you go to South India, you see the typical Malayalis how they wear their sari, right? So the way of wearing the sari is also different, not the normal way of wearing. So during the monthly cycle, it seems that just to keep the body a bit, you can say, comfortable, they used to wear loose garments, it seems, and that was just Ekavastradhara. So maybe not a sari with a lot of pleats and everything, just to cover their body, that's it they used to wear. So it was just one piece of cloth, like a long sari material only. Like they used to try to wear it like a sari, but it used to be very loose, so not like the original sari. So Vyasa mentions this in the Valmiki Ramayanam. In the Mahabharata, that grave insult has been done to Draupadi, that too she was in her inner chambers. So during that time of the month, the woman used to be given rest, so she was resting, she had a special chamber for that. So in her inner chambers, not even her husbands used to enter at that time, and at that time Dushasana comes and he pulls her. So then it is very disturbing, right? If you think, it is very disturbing. Why? Now we cannot imagine, not only a woman, even a man, you drag him and so on, that too in a helpless state. When we do that, it's very disturbing. So some people used to argue, it seems, and from the Mahabharata they used to try to remove these portions. They had an argument. Now it seems that the Mahabharata, it used to have many verses, it seems. In this original version, more than 1 lakh, almost nearing 1 crore. So they have shot down many things, and finally today we have the Mahabharata, which is roughly about 1 lakh verses. Some people also consider it to be 1.25 or so. So till date you see when a number is not fixed. So this Draupadi incident, some people used to say that it's very disturbing to read for the audience. Like when we read such things, you go to a movie, there is something disturbing, they say, right? Sensational, or you can say disturbing, what do you call, visuals and so on. Or it is 18 plus, we get all this tag. In the case of books, you cannot have this. So at that time it seems that Vyasa himself had told, and many other sages who were present, that we don't care what the audience thinks. We want to portray the reality that is there. Something happened with Draupadi, or it can be any other incident. Just because the incident is disturbing, or just because the audience will not like it, or just because Indian cinema and Indian philosophy believes in the concept of happy ending, we cannot show something which is unreal, at least in the case of Ramayana and Mahabharata. That is the reason why even in the Ramayana also some people consider Rama Pattabhisheka as an end of Ramayana. They do not consider the Uttarakanda as a part of Ramayana. Even till date, if you go and ask some people, they will not do that. Even when you chant the Valmiki Ramayana Parayanam, they end with Pattabhisheka. They will not chant Uttarakanda. Of course, in certain places they do that, but mostly it ends with Rama Pattabhisheka. There is only one reason for this: happy ending. Rama becomes a king, that's it. Who will portray the reality? Nobody does. Today when some new movies come in, we feel very happy. Oh, today only the world has risen up, world has opened its eyes, and some movie is being shown, everyone is going and watching that. Same thing, our scriptures have already portrayed, we have not opened our eyes and studied that. So, coming back, why I asked you, those who have read the original Ramayana, you must have this concept of reading. Still, people will always prefer, maybe now these lectures that we are having every Sunday, you just prefer maybe listening to that and knowing that is one thing. Or maybe you like to read the abridged versions. In short, just the story part. Your aim should always be able to read the original Valmiki Ramayana. Only if you read the original version, you will get to know many aspects. The storyline can be a bit slow, it can be a bit boring, and it can get into details. But then that cannot be an option. But if you want to know the reality, you must study that. And at the same time, there are also many aspects which we don't know. For example, in the Balakanda, we have the birth of Kartikeya. Lord Kartikeya's birth has been told in the Balakanda of the Ramayana. He is a daughter of Ganga, not of Parvati, biologically. And you also know the clan of Jatayu, from where Jatayu's clan has come, who are his ancestors and so on. So like this, not Ramayana and Mahabharata, if you see in whole, though Ramayana talks about the story of Rama, Mahabharata talks about the war that is there, there are still many other aspects that have been discussed here. Therefore, reading the original version is very, very important. Okay, coming back. Yes.
Okay, so maybe we can say, see, it depends upon what
Yeah, so see, the more number of verses when they are used, like he says, it is maybe to show the bhakti that the person had. That is also true to some extent. Maybe way of expression that is there, but then bhakti and all that is there. But then in the course of bhakti and devotion, of course, you do things, that is fine. But then mainly the purpose is to portray the reality as things happened. Or even when the Sundarakandam also, if you see, it is just 24 hours, but then the story is taken for almost 2000 verses, right? So each and every aspect has been discussed in detail, and this again is a proof that the Ramayana and Mahabharata cannot be declared to be false, because when something is mentioned so much in detail, it has to be true to some extent. So that's how research and everything is going. Okay, continue. Huh. Huh. Hmm. Huh. Yes, Ramcharitmanas it is not there. Yeah. Okay. So this is a reference, like he told now. He said that he is reading both the Sundarakandam of Ramcharitmanas as well as Valmiki Ramayana. But only in the Valmiki Ramayana he finds a description of Lanka. It's not there in the Ramcharitmanas. Reason being, Valmiki has written each and every aspect as Hanuman saw that. Therefore, we say whenever you want to have some pramanam, you must always consider the Valmiki Ramayanam only to know the detailed aspects of everything. That doesn't mean that the Ramcharitmanas or Kamba Ramayana and so on, they are all just fictional stories. It's not like that. But they try to speak to the point. Okay, Sundarakandam is about Hanuman, let us focus more on that. They will not talk about the description of Lanka, what Hanuman saw in Lanka, how he felt, how was Ravana, how was Lanka. They are not interested in that. They will talk about the main story. Okay. Now, if I don't know how many of you are familiar with Samhita. Yajurveda Samhita, I think few of you might be familiar, but still, Rigveda Samhita, in that speech. Now, why this is included here? The reason being, Brahma has told Valmiki that you have to write properly, right? Therefore, speech is very, very important. So, whatever is there in your heart, just as whatever was there inside Valmiki's heart, the sorrow when he saw the birds, just as that came out, and ultimately it is going to turn into a very beautiful epic, which people are going to study. Till date we are studying thousands of years back too. So this importance has been told in the Rigveda Samhita. Brahaspade pratamam vacho agram yat preratat namadeyam dadanaha. This is how it has to be chanted with the swaras. यदेषां श्रेष्ठं यदरिप्रमासीत् प्रेणा तदेषां निहितं गुहाभिः. Guhavihi. Don't chant it as guhavihi. Guhavihi. The ha has to go down. Only then guha. This meaning, guha meaning something that is hidden. When in the Vedas, when you say that something has to be hidden, the ha should always be down. Guhavihi. So this is in praise of speech. Brihaspati says this. Brihaspati, for guru of the gods. So he says that there is some motivation that takes place, some incident, like in the case of Valmiki, he saw both the birds, and just by looking at that, this incident motivated him, and ultimately he could write the entire Ramayana. Now here an experience, here just an example is given. Now what is this example? Example is, all of us speak, right? You are speaking, I am speaking. We keep on speaking, in fact, we don't shut our mouths. But all the speech that we do, everything, is everything important? Not now, all of us we are speaking every day. Every day none of us is composing a Ramayana, right? Only few people when they speak, it is so beautiful. Like for example, Krishna spoke, it became the Gita. Vaishampayana spoke, he got the Vaishampayana Yudhishthira spoke, he got the Vishnu Sahasranama. Hayagriva Agastya spoke, he got the Lalita Sahasranama. Yudhishthira the Yaksha spoke, he got the Yaksha Prashnam. Like this, when learned people speak at that time, we get Janamejaya and Vaishampayana spoke, we got the Mahabharata. Like this, when learned people speak, we are blessed with some great texts. It does so, therefore it depends on the scholarliness of the person also. So everyone is speaking, everyone is hearing, everyone is speaking, but how far the speech is considered important, that can be seen here. Speech is divine. Now just different references are given. In the Lalita Sahasranama, you have a few shlokas. Rigveda Samhita, you have a few shlokas. Mainly, the importance of speech that is there. That is the reason speech is considered to be a form of Goddess Saraswati, Vagdevata, we say, or Vagdevi. So whatever we speak, we have to be very, very important. Don't use bad language, don't use sinful words, but don't shout, because speech is also considered to be a very important aspect. Goddess herself is considered Bhasha Rupa, Bhagadishwari, Nada Rupa, and so on. Now there are certain conditions why Valmiki is blessed. Rahasyam cha prakasham cha yadvrittam tasya dhimataha ramasya saha saummitrehe rakshasanam cha sarvashaha vaidehyashchaiva yadvrittam prakasham yadivaraha tachapya viditam sarvam viditam te bhavishyati. So here Brahma tells Valmiki that all the incidents that are related to Rama with Lakshmana, Sita, all his 4 brothers, and what you did with the Rakshasas, even about Ravana and everything in detail, which is known to you, which is not known to you, which is known to the world, unknown, everything. Just as the incident has happened, everything I'm going to reveal to you. Based on that, you please start writing the Ramayana. This is very, very, very important, these 2 verses. यावत्स्तास्यन्ति गिरयः सरितश्च महीतले तावद्रामायण कथा लोकेषु प्रचरिष्यति तदुपगतसमाससन्धियोगं सममधुरोपनार्थवाक्यबद्धं रघुवरचरितं मुनिप्रणीतं दशशिरसश्च वदं निशामयध्वम्. Now these 2 verses are also a part of a Purana that talk about the significance of Ramayana, but they are also very much a part of the original Ramayana also, Balakanda Sarga 2. You have the verse numbers. Yavat sthasyanti is to exist. Girayaha mountains. Saritashcha mahitale. Saritaha rivers. Mahitale on the earth. So as long as rivers and mountains exist on this earth, Tavad Ramayana Katha, Tavad Ramayana, Lokeshu Pracharishyati. Till then the story of Ramayana will be popular amongst the people. So in short, till the world exists, now mountains and rivers will always exist. Till then on this earth, till then the story of Ramayana is also existing. Very much proof. Till date at least it is there, it is going to be there to the future generations. And you look at an aspect of Ramayana, Mahabharata and all our scriptures, if you see, the speciality of this is, even though people are against religion, people, even though they are atheist, or even people who don't believe in the concept of Rama, Krishna, they don't believe, they say everything is false. What is Ramayana? What is Mahabharata? Who's Rama? Anything. They might question them also, even though they are questioning, they might not believe, but still they at least know who is Rama, right? They will, whenever you talk about Rama, no, he's a false person. But you see that even those people who don't know or who don't believe in all this, they will also, at the back of their minds, they will also actually search and see who's Rama. They'll find out who's Rama. Maybe they want to argue against him, that is fine. Maybe they want to pinpoint the mistakes in Rama's life, but at least for that sake, at least they search or they read about Rama. So this is one aspect that you see. So Ramayana and Mahabharata, this is such an epic that there is no one in this world, or at least in India, who has not heard the word at all. Have you come across anyone who says, I've never heard, what is Ramayana? And maybe you go and tell someone, I've read the Ramayana. Will they ask you, what is Ramayana? Never ever. Nobody will ask you, what is Ramayana or who is Rama? They will not know the entire story in general, but at least they have heard the word of Ramayana. This itself shows the greatness. Then, Tadupagama Samasa Sandhi Yogam. This text is full of Samasa and Sandhi. Samasa, compound words. Sandhi, you can see the joining of words. For example, Tavad Ramayana Katha. This is a Sandhi. Tavad Ramayana Katha. It's a combination of two words. Tavad Ramayana. So this entire epic is full of Samasa words and Sandhis. Sandhis is the breakup of words. Sama Maduropana. Maduropana, very beautiful, melodious. You can sing that. That's the reason we can chant in a tune. Vakyabadham. Vakyabadham, it is composed in a particular meter. Raghuvara Charitam Munipranitam. Story of Rama. Munipranitam, as told by the sage. Dashashirashchavadham, killing of Ravana. Dashashiraha, the 10-headed Ravana. Vadham Nishamayadvam. Nishamayadvam, you please listen to this story. As told by the sage, let all of us listen to it. Next is Sargatri. So with this, Brahma tells the gist of the Ramayana. He tells Valmiki that I'm going to show you all the incidents so that you can start writing, and he also blesses Valmiki, saying that if you compose this epic till Yavat Stasyanti Girayaha Saritascha Mahitale and so on, he tells that as long as the mountains, rivers exist, the story of Rama and the killing of Ravana will always be popular among the masses. So with this blessing, he leaves and goes. Next is, now Valmiki has been given an idea. He has been told that you have to compose a Ramayana. What next? Next he is thinking that what else can be done. So here he composes and he says, further he decides, he thinks, he has to think over this. So he thinks and wonders, how should I start, from where should I start, and he slowly starts writing. So immediately when someone tells that you have to write on this topic, it takes some time. So similarly, Valmiki also, it took some time for him. Whatever Brahma told him, he was thinking about that. श्रुत्वा वस्तु समग्रं तद्धर्मात्मा धर्मसंहितं व्यक्तमन्वेषते भूयः यद्वृत्तं तस्य धीमतः. Now the essence of Ramayana was already seen by Valmiki. Narada had already told that in the Samkshepa Ramayana. So now he knew the rough story of Ramayana, but the epic had to be composed in detail. 100 verses have been told by Narada to Valmiki. So now he knows the story. But then he started finding out Vyaktaman Veshati. Vyaktaman is the further, you can say, the details of the story. He started to search. Tatsarvam Tattvato Drishtva Dharmena Chamahadyutihi Abhiramasya Ramasya Charitam Kartumudyataha Kamartha Guna Samyuktam Dharmartha Guna Vistaram Samudrami Bharatnatyam Sarvashruti Manoharam. Now Brahma had blessed him that I'll show you the Divya Drishti of the entire Ramayana. So you just look at that, and with that you will be able to write the entire story of the Ramayana. So he starts writing and he notes down all the entire story in its original form, the pleasures, sadness, then the qualities of Rama. So this Samudrami Varatnadyam, the entire Ramayana is like an ocean full of gems. And finally he got ready to compose the story of Rama, which is Sarvashruti Manoharam, very very pleasant to listen. अयोध्यायाष्टगमनं वरतेन समागमं रामाभिषेकाभ्युदयं सर्वसैन्यविसर्जनं स्वराष्ट्ररञ्जनं चैव वैदेह्याष्टविसर्जनम्. So he further thought about all this. Now here if you see, this is a proof again that Valmiki has also composed the Uttarakanda. So in this now little reference you have of the Uttarakanda. Why so? The Balakanda itself, third sarga, why little we get reference of the Uttarakanda? Because you see, in the Sankshepa Ramayanam, Valmiki tells, Narada tells only till the Rama Pattabhisheka, that is there. He does not talk more about Uttarakanda. But then when Brahma was showing everything, when Brahma was showing the Divya Drishti, at that time Valmiki could also visualize the future events that were taking place. Therefore little gist he mentions in the third chapter of the Balakanda. That is the coronation and everything, and finally all it was Ramaraja and Sita was sent to the forest. Anagatam. So here this is a proof that he composed events also that were yet to happen on this earth in the Uttarakanda. So again, Valmiki only is a composer of Uttarakanda. Ramayana itself mentions this in the Balakanda, 3rd chapter, verse 38. Anagatam chayat kinchit ramasya vasudhatale tachakaro tare kavye Valmikir bhagavan rishihi. So the divine sage Valmiki, he also composed events, started writing about things that were going to happen in future, because he could visualize to some extent, and he wrote the same, which in the history of Rama after the Pattabhisheka, the things that were going to take place, that also he wrote. Next is Sarga 4. Sarga 4, there are about 36 36 verses in this Sarga, and from here the actual story of Ramayana starts. And Lavakusha, they are selected. Now when does Valmiki start writing? After Rama's return to Ayodhya, Sita has already come and staying here, and he teaches this Ramayana to Sita's children, Rama's children, Lava and Kusha. They memorize and recite the verses. They recite it in the Valmiki ashrama, and everywhere, wherever they go, and Rama happens to see them and brings them to the court, and they recite even in the palace of Ayodhya. चतुर्विंशत् सहस्राणि श्लोकानाम् उक्तवान् ऋषिः तथा सर्गशतान् पञ्च षट्काण्डानि तथोत्तरम्. So basically if you see in the initial sargas of Balakanda, you have some reference even to the Uttarakanda, how Lavakusha revealed the story and so on. So Chaturvimshat Sahasrani, about 24,000 verses, composed by Shlokanam Uktavan Rishihi, as told by Valmiki. Tata Sarga Shatan Pancha, 6 kandas, because till then it has already been done. Till Rama Pattabhisheka it is 6. Uttarakanda, Lavakusha are actually singing, so it is still not yet fully composed. Plus Shatkandani Tathottaram, Tatha Uttaram, there is going to be an Uttarakanda also. Satumeda Vinau Drishtva Vedeshu Parinishkito Vedopabrimhanartaya Tavagrahayata Prabhu. So Lava and Kusha were found suitable by Valmiki. They had studied the Vedas, and next he told that I am going to teach you the entire story of Ramayana, which you can memorize all the verses you by heart, and you can sing about in the assembly of sages also. पाठ्ये गेये च मधुरं प्रमाणैस्त्रिभिरन्वितं जातिभिः सप्तभिर्बद्धं तन्त्रीलयसमन्वितं रसैः शृङ्गारकारुण्य हास्यवीरभयानकैः रौद्रादिभिश्च संयुक्तं काव्यमेतदगायतः. So all the Navarasas are also part. Navarasas is mentioned by Bharata Muni in his Natya Shastram. Navarasas, people who do these drama, dance, they are familiar with the Navarasa. Hasya, Bibhatsa, Karunya, different expressions that are Navarasas. So the Navarasas, or aesthetics as you call them, they are also a part of Ramayana. You have Shrangara, you have Karuna, and anger. Now comic cannot be seen here. Hasya to some extent is not a part of Ramayana, but then all other 9 rasas can be seen here. So mainly the epic that was sung by Lavakusha had all these qualities. It had the Navarasas, and it is said that they were taught in a musical tone. That's how you have three scales. Now, those are familiar with music, you will have scales, right? I don't know in Hindustani music how it is, at least in Carnatic music you have three scales. First level, second level, third level, they try to say. Is there anyone who knows music here? You know about the three scales? No? Okay. Whatever little I know, I'll tell you. One starts with N, N. From the N scale, people start singing. One is from Sa, Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Da, Ni, Sa, Pa, Da, Ni. So, Sa is again, it is repeated. So, Sa, Ni, Da, from this it starts. Even if you have the Shruti, even if you have the vocal with you, and in that also you have certain scales that are set. Now, those scales are also numbered, for example, 5, 4, and so on. The three scales people sing, 7-fold tune, Sa, Re, Ga, Ma, Pa, Da, Ni. This is 7. So, like there's different string instruments. In that string instrument is the Veena, both Lava and Kusha used to play, and on that they used to sing the Ramayana. So here they also had musical knowledge also. Along with that, they used to chant the Ramayana. So very melodious to listen. And these three scales can also be the mediums. One is in the low, medium, and high. That's how the scales. And even you also have three speeds as we know. So like this, even music knowledge was also taught to the boys, and both of them started singing the Ramayana. Now, certain rasas have been mentioned. Navarasas, Bharata Muni mentions in Natya Shastram. You have the full detail of Navarasas and the things that are followed, rules that are followed for enacting a drama, dance, and so on. Now, where can we see these rasas? To some extent, this has been included. Now, this is not a part of Sarga 4. In general, it has just been mentioned. For humor, now humor is not much prevalent in the Ramayana, but still the Shurpanakha episode can be humorous because Rama sent her to Lakshmana, Lakshmana sent her back to Rama. So that can be a bit humorous, that also little, slightly. That is humor. Grievous, Dasharatha and Jatayu. It is full of grief, you can say, but wherein they had to die because of sorrow. It's not only grief, plain grief. Now someone dies, we grieve, right? But when someone is killed, or maybe there's an accident or something like that, or sudden deaths that take place, at that time grief is more. An old person dies also, we feel sad, no doubt. But then a 90-year-old man dies, we feel sad, but then how do we console ourselves? Old age. How long a person will live? He has lived 90 years, right? But then grief, when it comes, suddenly maybe a young person dies, when someone gets hurt, meets with a major accident and so on. Or like in the case of Dasharatha, he died due to the sorrow, separation from his son. Jatayu died because Ravana cut off his wings. So like this, these are very grievous. And so we feel when the person has to face extreme grief, that is Jatayu and Dasharatha. Furious, killing, torturing, all the Yuddha, Khara, Dushana, Yuddha, then Rama Lakshmana killing the demons when they went to Vishwamitra's hermitage, and the Rama Ravana Yuddha, that is furious. Bravery, Lakshmana and Indrajita, Meghanada Yuddha, that is where the bravery was being seen. Kalpana, do you want to say something? No, okay. Bravery, Indrajit. Now, Indrajit, why this incident has been mentioned is, in the case of Indrajit, now even in Rama, Ravana also it was bravery only. But in Indrajit was such a person who could not be killed by Rama also. Does anyone know the reason? Why did Indrajit fight only with Lakshmana? Why did Lakshmana kill Indrajit? Does anyone know the reason? No? Adya Mauna Vratam va? Everyone is following Mauna Vratam today?
No, Lakshmi.
Then speak up. You can even guess. All of you know the story, right? That Indrajit was killed by... correct. Correct. So, the... Correct. So, this Indrajit had got a boon. Now, this 14 years number, that is there for 14 years, but mainly it is this number that is there. Sometimes people say that how come it is only 14? The reason was the person was not slept for 14 years. such a person is only eligible to kill Indrajit. This was the boon that Indrajit had got. But then some people will argue on this, saying that how 14? Just because Rama went to Vanvasa for 14, so they have just, and also obviously Lakshmana did not sleep for 14 years, so they have said 14. So mainly when we say not to sleep, that means Lakshmana was very much aware, you can say. Not sleeping in the sense, he used to not sit and sleep, or he used to not just roam about here and there. He was very much aware. So, Nidra, this sleep, is also considered to be one amongst the Shadripu. Nidra, Tandra, Bhayakrodam, Alasyam, Dirghasutrata. It is Shadripu.
It is one among
6 enemies.
okay. Nidra.
Nidra. That doesn't mean should we stop sleeping. Sleeping is important, but then sleeping untimely, keep on sleeping, that's all not right. So therefore sleeping, when just to rest our body, we need sleep, that's it. Beyond that, we should not sleep at all. So here, in the case of Lakshmana, he did not sleep, and that is the reason he was very much aware. And at the same time, because of the boon that was given to Indrajit, therefore Lakshmana was only the person who could kill Indrajit, not even Rama. And of course he had done many other homa, sacrifices and everything Indrajit, and they had the help of Vibhishana also, who could guide Lakshmana. And Lakshmana, still it was very difficult to kill Indrajit, because Lakshmana had already he had died almost, but thanks to Hanuman he got the Mrita Sanjeevani, and the life of Lakshmana was saved. So total bravery. He went, he destroyed the sacrifice of Indrajit, so it was not at all not at all easy to kill Indrajit. Indrajit, one word, one over Indra. So he had won even over the king of gods, that is Indrajit. But still, Lakshmana put in efforts, and that's how the life of Lakshmana was saved and Indrajit was killed. So, bravery. Fright. Oh, here the spelling is wrong, it is fright. To be afraid. Bhayaha, that is fright. The Rakshasis used to continuously torture Sita, that is fright. Disgust, Kabandha. Disgust is called Bibhatsa. If you have ever seen the serial or a movie of Ramayana, you can actually see Kabandha, how they show. Very disgusting to me. Just one eye, no legs at all, just hands. You can say a very fearful. Just by looking, we don't like, right? Maybe you see garbage on the roadside, we say, what is this? We make a certain face, and we say, ooh, ew, Q, whatever people make such sounds, right? That is bibhatsa, disgust. Just by looking at it, we don't feel like seeing. Amazing, or you can say beyond belief. Hanuman crossing over Lanka, burning it, and the Rama Ravana Yuddha. Ravana, who had won over all the worlds, all the Navagrahas were under his control, he had won over the gods, everything was in his side, but still Rama managed to kill him. So this is something you can say very difficult to believe. Or beyond belief, it's amazing. Romance, Balakanda till Sita's separation, that is a love story between, you can say the happy married life between Rama and Sita. Romance, Sringara. So all the rasas are there. Further, we continue the story. Rishenam cha dvijatinam sadhunam cha samagame yatopadesham tattvajño jagatussu samahitamo. Lava and Kushava taught the Ramayana. They came to the assembly of Rama and they started singing the Ramayana. Prashasyamano sarvatra kadachit tatra gayakau pratyasuraja margesho dadarsha bharatakrajaha. So first they started singing in the streets of Ayodhya. All the people started appreciating, and finally they were called to the palace of Ayodhya also. Rama called them. Rama saw them singing and he decided that they must be called and they must sing in my court also. Next. Sarga 5 Balakanda, Ayodhya, city of Ayodhya is described. Why some verses are scripted? We are looking at the gist of the Ramayana, not the entire Ramayana. Therefore, only the main aspects from the Ramayana are being considered. Next is Rama's family that has been described. Then the physical beauty of Ayodhya, surroundings, how are the people, and so on. So mainly, if you see now, we cannot look at the word by word meaning, right? So therefore, we are looking at the gist of each of the sargas, whichever are the important aspects, we are covering on that. Now, my suggestion to all of you is, before you can study Sarga 5 of Balakanda to know about the ancestors of Rama. But along with that, those who are interested, you must surely study read the Raghuvamsham composed by Kalidasa. That is very, very, you can say it gives you the detailed version of Raghuvamsha, the kings of Raghu and so on. Very beautiful. The qualities of Raghu are mentioned there. Not only Raghu, Aja, Dilipa and so on. So very, very auspicious. So auspicious, and at the same time it is, you can say, you will feel like reading that more and more. So those who feel, you can surely read even that. Okay. Next. Just to know about the future, just to know about the ancestors of Ramayana. येषां स सगरो नाम सागरो येन खानितः षष्टिः पुत्रसहस्राणि यं यान्तं पर्यवारयन्. Sagara, now please note, Sagara, that's how he got the ocean has got the name Sagara, so don't get confused here. Sagara was a king, he got the ocean dug, and his 60,000 sons, they surrounded him. That is, they supported him, helped him during battle. इक्ष्वाकूणामिदं तेषां राज्ञां वंशे महात्मनां महदुत्पन्नमाख्यानं रामायणमिति श्रुतम्. Rama was born in this line of Ikshwaku Vamsha. There was a king, Ikshwaku was a founder of this family, and there were many kings who were born. That's why Ikshwaku Vamsha Prabhavaha Ramo Nama. This is how the line comes, that Rama belonged to the Ikshwaku dynasty, he belonged to this family. Why do we hear the Ramayana? Tadidam vartayishyami sarvam nikilamaditah dharmarthakama sahitam shrotabhyam anusuyaya. Valmiki says that, he tells this to Lavakusha ultimately, that vartayishyami is, I'm going to spread, or I'm going to talk about this Ramayana, which has all the merits of dharma, artha and kama. Everything has been spoken about. So in all respects, it should be read from the beginning without any, no partiality, nothing. It has to be as it is in the same form. It has to be read about Ayodhya. Ayata dashachatve cha yojanani mahapuri Srimati trini vistirna subhibhakta mahapatha. After reading these words, if still anyone claims that the Ramayana is false, that means that person should be told to read the Balakanda. Otherwise, no one will mention even the size of Ayodhya that is there. You see the size of Ayodhya, you can, all these measures are also being given. So therefore, then even though people claim, of course not to speak against anyone, but still, even if people claim, still even if people claim that all the Ramayana is false, was there a city of Ayodhya and so on. Of course, we have the city of Ayodhya that is there, but the exact measurements also have been measured. So therefore, as per the researchers and with so much of information, again we cannot claim that it can be a false story. So if you see the city of Ayodhya, it was for about 12 yojanas long. 12 yojanas is about 8 miles. 1 yojana is 8 miles, 8 into 12. And 3 yojanas in breadth, so about 96 miles by 24 miles. Length and breadth of Ayodhya has been proved, and the exact figure, so around 6,000 kilometer area was the area land. So here now in this text, if you see, they have just given you the size of the other cities that are there. New York, Tokyo, Chicago, Boston and so on. So in India, one city is, if you see even the country of Boston, Ayodhya is more than that. So one city of India, that is almost, you can consider half of major cities like New York, Tokyo and so on, right? So just one city of India. So you just imagine India then. India also is a country, we say Indian subcontinent still. Why India is called subcontinent? Why it is Jambu Dvipa, under Jambu Dvipa, why we have India? This is a reason, because you consider all the other cities all around the world, you look at their size. Now this is not just to compare between cities, but to show that even one city in India has got so much, not just through size, the maintenance, the rich culture and the people who are living about there. And today we feel so proud when we go to other countries. And I went to New York, I saw this, I saw that. Well, that is fine, you must go there. But still, when you come back to India, you can see the size of India itself. I remember, just to share with all of you, this Chicago. My father, he had, in his initial days, he had studied in Chicago. So at that time, he used to come and he used to say that when we were just roaming about in Chicago, when during his times when he used to study there, he used to say that the entire city, like entire city or rather a country, whatever you call it. But today, if we have to roam about in our own cities, in Indian cities, say Mumbai, Chennai, Bangalore, and so on, nobody can say that in one day I've seen the entire city, right? Maybe even if you see that, just few important places you see and then you come back. But there he used to say that even very frequently also you just roam about there. The size is so small that maybe over a weekend or so you go there and then you don't have so much of crowd and so. I'm talking this about 20 years back, not 20, 25 years back. So that time he used to say that you used to just go about and then you come back. A very short time you just look at the city and come. There are a few important places you see and they used to study wherever they had their hostel, whatever it is. So they used to just see that and come. But the people who have actually gone there, I'm just telling you what I have experienced, I have heard. There might be a few people who have gone there. So you can just imagine and see that when today we praise about so much, I've gone to this place, I've gone to that place, and we not, maybe not amongst us, we say so many people, right? Especially old people, you listen to them. You know, my son is living there, I went and saw that, such a beautiful place, so clean, the roads are so wide, all that is fine. But what about the aspects that are there? You go to Ayodhya, in one road you can see 10 temples that are there. And then you go to all the temples and so many historical other places also. Right from Chitrakuta, right from Nasik, if you go about till UP, you can see so many places where the local people will tell you. I think few of you have done the Ramayana Yatra, right? So many local people will tell you the folklore. Says Rama had come here, my grandfather had seen, my great grandfather had seen, my ancestors had seen. And even in small places, maybe under a tree also, they will have a small image of Rama, just to signify that during Rama's Vanavasa they had come here. So the point that I'm trying to say is, today when we say that our places are so crowded and so on, obviously it's going to be crowded. And that too, you imagine when the area is also so big, still there is so much of crowd, that itself shows the diversity and culture of this place. So you just imagine, one city is only so long equal to a country, just imagine about our entire country, India. So this is a rough figure of India that is made. Then कवाटतोरणवतीं सुविभक्तान्तरापणां सर्वयन्त्रायुधवतीं उपेतां सर्वशिल्पिभिः. City was well developed. All kinds of sculptors used to live there. Very beautiful gateways, courtyards used to be made. Local markets, instruments, weapons, everything was arranged. Sutamagada sambadam Srimati Matulaprabam Uchchatala Dvajavatim Shatagni Shatasankulam. Mainly it was a very architectural piece of marble. Now, I don't know today's Ayodhya how it is. I have not visited Ayodhya. Has anyone gone to Ayodhya?
Yes.
Yeah. So, can you still, like, is it still an architectural this, or you have a lot of modernity that is done? They are there, right? Okay. So, maybe in Ramayana's times, it might be still more. Today, of course, there is a lot of development and everything, and especially with the elections and everything coming in, you might have a lot of things that are done frequently, repairs and this and that. But then still, the city is known for its Ayodhya. Even today, if you go, like few of you say, but it is still known for its certain, you can say, historical importance. So this description is in the times of Ramayana. Durga Gambira Parigam Durga Manye Durasadam Vajivarana Sampurnam Govirushtair Kharaistatha. The city was well protected. They had moats, M-O-A-T, moats, so that no enemy can enter easily. Several, we had all the cavalry, infantry, everything, so that to protect the city of Ayodhya. So no invasions can be done. It was always protected from enemies. And the people of Ayodhya. नामग्निमद्भिर्गुणवद्भिरावृतां द्विजोत्तमैर्वेदषडङ्गपारगैः सहस्रदैः सत्यरतैर्महात्मभिः महर्षिकल्पैर्ऋषिभिश्च केवलैः. All the people here, they were well versed in the Vedas and the Vedangas. They were generous, they were truthful, and they had all good qualities. It seems that even the people were equal to Rishis and Maharshis, that is, through their qualities. Now, through this verse, what it signifies is that, now when we say Rishis and Maharshis, that doesn't mean they were in orange robes and so on. The qualities that they had were of Rishis and Maharshis, very, very divine people, very good and virtuous people. That was the people of Ayodhya. Sarga 6. Now all these are in Dasharatha's rule. Rama has not even come here. In Dasharatha. Dasharatha was also a great king. Dasharatha, when Rama has chosen to be born in the family of Dasharatha, he has chosen Dasharatha to be his father. It's not that you just randomly choose anyone. That's why God is not born to everyone, right? Only human beings are born, but only to certain people. If the God himself decides to incarnate in such so and so family, the person also should have good qualities. Not only Dasharatha. This is the reason why I told you that you must study the Raghuvamsha, because Raghuvamsha, in that Kalidasa, he mentions very clearly that all the kings of Raghuvamsha, the qualities that they had. Just one second, I'll also just tell you there are which shlokas. There are about 4 shlokas. Maybe I will just share that to you later. Maybe after, just one second, I'll just see if I get that article. Earlier I had just found out, when I just gone through the Raghuvamsha, I had found out about the greatness of the kings of Raghuvamsha. That is mentioned there. I don't know how far you can see. Can you see this? Maybe this. Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Oh. This is just earlier when I was just going through the Raghuvamsha, I just picked out 4 verses and just written it in the form of an article. I will just share it to you later. So in that 16 qualities of the kings of Raghuvamsha has been mentioned. Sohama janma shuddhanam aphalodaya karmanam asamudra kshitishānam anakaratavartmanam. Right from conception till death. Now forget about right from birth till death. Right from the time they were conceived, it seems. Conception is also birth, though we consider that. Even when they were inside their mother's womb also, from that time it is mentioned. So they lived, like, you cannot find even one flaw. Dasharatha now, if you just look at the life of Dasharatha, for example, did he do anything wrong? Only we have the one incident, that is from the Shravan Kumar story, wherein that too unknowingly thinking that when the boy Shravan, he went to pick water from the pond, he thought that it's an animal and he shot an arrow. That was the only one mistake that he did, that he committed in his life. That's all. Apart from that, Dasharatha had not done anything. So right from the time of birth till death, they were very faultless life. They did not do even one adharmic activity, and as per, they followed all the rules that were there as per our scriptures. And if they started something, they ensured that they completed that. If they had some enemies attacking them and everything, whatever it might be, the protection of their subjects or anything, the welfare of their kingdom, everything was done. They used to not stop till the task was completed. Borders were ocean, that is, they controlled all the lands. They had full control over all the lands. There was no kingdom nearby also, so no enemy could attack. They could drive their chariots up to Swargaloka, and it seems that's why we have the name Dasharatha. In all the 10 directions, Dasharatha's chariot could run, and they could defeat even the Asuras and also help the Devas. Yata vidihutagninam yata kamarchitarthinam yata paradadandanam yata kala prabodhinim. Different yajnas were conducted, and charity, they were known for charity. We have the famous story of Raghu and Kautsa. It's a very famous story in the Raghuvamsha. It comes when in Raghu, in one instance, it seems that he had donated everything. He had gone on a Digvijaya Yatra all over the world, all over the Indian subcontinent, you can consider. And at that time, he had given everything in donation. His entire treasury was empty. He himself did not have anything. And at that time, still a person, a mendicant comes and he asks for alms. He says that I don't have anything. But still, he does not send him empty-handed. He prays, and somehow he finds out some way, and somehow he gets gold coins. And that gold coins also what he received. In spite of knowing that my own treasury is empty, he did not consider anything for himself. He gave it to all the people, to the person who had asked. So this was the amount of charity. Mainly they were not scholars of law. They knew law. That's the reason. To the people who did evil karma, they used to punish them. To the people who were good, they always took care of them. They did not believe in procrastination. Whatever had to be done today, they used to do that immediately. Tyagaya samvrtartanam satyaya mitabhashinam yashase vijigishunam prajaya grihamedini medinam. Whatever wealth they used to earn, they used to use that not for personal use, they used to use for the welfare of their subjects. They knew the power of words. Mitabhashanam, Satyaya Mitabhashanam. Whatever they spoke was only the truth. They spoke less. Because when we speak more, we are afraid of speaking lies, right? Lies, or maybe we just, without reason, we just keep gossiping and talking about. When you speak less, to the point, that is, when you speak to the point, it's always beneficial. And Yashase Vijigishuna, why did they annex their kingdoms and why did they spread their land? Not because they wanted to capture more land under their control, but for the purpose that it was a part of Kshatriya Dharma. Kshatriya Dharma is to bring more lands under their control, to keep our land safe from enemy invasions. So therefore they used to fight and bring down the lands under their control. They married and they led a Grihastha's life, again not for just sensual pleasures, so that the progeny, they could beget good progeny. Rama was born in the same line. If not for the Raghuvamsha kings, Rama could not be born there. So the dharma, to follow the rules of householders, and also to repay the Pitru Rana. Pitru Rana is very, very important. Pitru Rana, ancestors. Today if all of us are there, all thanks to ancestors. If our ancestors were not born, we will also not be born. Therefore Grihasthas, we must do the Shraddha Karma that is there without fail. That is Pitru Ranam. Pitru Ranam can be given back only by further interdynasty. That is only when you do the Shraddha Karma mainly. When can one do the Shraddha Karma? Only when one's children are there. If they are not there, that cannot be done. That's how the lineage breaks. If you say it breaks or it stops, we cannot do the Karma. Pitru Rana is stopped there. Shaishave vyasta vidyanam yovane vishayeshanam vardake munivrittnanam yoganante danutyajam. They followed all the 4 ashramas: Brahmacharya ashrama, Grihastha ashrama, Vanaprastha ashrama and Sannyasa ashrama. This was the greatness of the kings of Raghuvamsha. Okay. Coming back, so this is in Raghuvamsha. Maybe I will just share this later, all of you can go through that. Okay. Did everyone see the slide of the 4 qualities of the kings? Yes? Sorry, 16 qualities.
Yes.
Okay. Next is qualities of Dasharatha. Tasyam Puriyam Ayodhyayam Vedavid Sarvasangraha Dirgadarshi Mahatejaha Paurajana Padapriyaha Ikshvakunam Adirataha Yajva Dharmarato Vashi Maharshi Kalpo Rajarshihi Trishulokeshu Vishrutaha. Dasharatha, again, like all the kings of Raghuvamsha, he was well versed in the Vedas, he was far-sighted, he was very strong. Among the Ikshvaku kings, he was a great charioteer. And Maharathas is great kings. He could handle and fight with all of them single-handedly. And many sacrifices were performed. He was full of dharma and a great sage also. That is, he had saintly qualities. A royal saint, it seems. Rajarshi, he was famous in the 3 worlds. Now through this, so in the case of Dasharatha, you see everything was good. What was lacking is, he was not blessed with children. So through this incident that took place in Dasharatha's life lesson for all of us, even though everything happens, even such a great person like Dasharatha also had to face some sorrow in his life. So when even little sorrow comes in our life or some problem comes in, we must always think about all these great people who are there. In spite of having everything, kingdom, welfare, name, fame, still he did not have the blessing of children. Ultimately, in a later stage of his life, he was blessed with the same. So today also when we have some sorrow, in spite of not doing anything great also, we feel bad. No, everything is on me, only I have to face all this. We must give time. In the course of time, everything will be solved. So when Dasharatha and such great people only had to face sorrow in spite of having such good qualities, what about us? We are just mere human beings. Balavani mitro mitravan vijitendriyaha dhanaishcha sangrahaishcha annei shakravaishravanopamaha yata manurmaha teja lokasya parirakshita tata dasharato raja vasanjaganapalayat. He followed the tradition of Manu. Manu, first king, first man, who used to protect all the people. Dasharatha also followed this philosophy. He was a destroyer of enemy, he had good friends, perfect control over all his indriyas, was very rich. So basically he didn't had to suffer for anything. Suffer in the sense, he didn't have shortage of anything. So he was very happy with whatever we had. And his riches were comparable to Indra as well as Kubera. Again, talking about the people of Ayodhya. Na kundali na makuti, na sragvi nalpabhogavan, na mrishto na nuliptango, na sugandhascha vidyate. So all the people in Ayodhya, none was without ornaments or without garlands, or maybe no one wore like torn clothes and all that. Everything was, you can say, like people were full of riches, as you see. So there was no shortage for anything, and no one was unclean. They had good ointments, they had perfumes, fragrance, so all beauty items to beautify the body also. People were blessed, and you can say people were rich in all aspects. न नास्तिको न नृतकः न कश्चिदबहुश्रुतः नासूयको न च शक्तः न विद्वान् विद्यते तदा. Seems that there was none who was a liar or illiterate, not educated, was ignorant, was an atheist, and so on. So such qualities, negative qualities, were never there. No one was ignorant of the Shastras also. You go and ask anyone. So why they were not ignorant is because they had studied all the scriptures. When you study everything, when you open your books, open your eyes and study, you will not have any questions. There is no place for confusion and ignorance at all. So they don't have to go and ask someone. They don't have to wait for someone to give an answer to their questions. When they themselves have studied everything, there is no place for doubt at all. ना षडंग विदन्नासी ना व्रातो ना सहस्रदः न दीनक्षिप्तचित्तो वा व्यथितो वापि कश्चनः. Everyone had studied the Vedangas. There was none who used to not donate and perform charity. So basically, if you see, the entire kingdom was prosperous, including the subjects also. There was no distracting or distressing moment. That is, no one was depressed. Now talking about the court of Dasharatha, how were the ministers? दृष्टिर्जयन्तो विजयः सिद्धार्थो ह्यर्थसाधकः अशोको मन्त्रपालश्च सुमन्त्रश्चाष्टमो भवत्. The 8 Mukhyamantris, the 8 important ministers of Dasharatha: Drishti, Jayanta, Vijaya, Siddhartha, Arthasadaka, Ashoka, Mantrapala and Sumantra. They were the main important 8 important ministers of Dasharatha. ऋत्विजौ द्वावभिमितौ तस्यास्तां ऋषिसप्तमौ वसिष्ठो वामदेवश्च मन्त्रिणश्च तथा परे. Along with the 8 ministers, he had 2 sages also. They were Vamadeva and Vasishtha. Vasishtha was a family priest, and Vamadeva, he had of course some other counselors too. What were the qualifications of these ministers? विद्या विनीता हीमन्तः कुशला नियतेन्द्रियाः श्रीमन्तश्च महात्मानः शास्त्रज्ञा दृढविक्रमाः कीर्तिमन्तः प्रणिहिताः यथा वचनकारिणः तेजक्षमा यशः प्राप्ता स्मितपूर्वाभिभाषिणः. Well educated, vidya vinitah. They don't do anything. They did not do any shameful acts also. Well versed in the Shastras, wealthy. Then they had their senses. That is, they knew what they were doing. Without knowledge of anything, they used to not do. Then they were brilliant. They were forgiving, kshama, and they always spoke with a smile. Smita purva vibhashinaha. So the qualifications, if you see, that is, even you don't have to even go and approach the king for anything. If the subjects were facing any problem, they used to go and directly approach the ministers only. The ministers were of such quality, they were well educated, they used to only solve half of the problems, it seems. So there used to be no place for the king to act at all. The ministers only used to provide a solution immediately. These were the qualities of the ministers of Dasharatha. कुशला व्यवहारेषु सौहृदेषु परीक्षिताः प्राप्तकालं तु ते दण्डं धारयेयुस्सतेष्वपि. They knew how to deal with people. Someone was doing wrong, including Suteshwapi. You say the highlighted Suteshwapi. Even if their own sons did wrong, they used to give them punishment. That is, there used to be no partiality. Oh, he is my son, I will forgive him. Someone else's son, I will punish him. It's not like that. They were not at all partial. कोशसंग्रहेण ग्रहणे युक्ता बलस्य च परिग्रहे अहितं च विपुरुषं न विहिंस्युरदूषकम्. Without reason, no punishment used to be given. So both these verses, they are contradictory to each other. So they were experts. They knew how to act, and if someone who's innocent, was not committed any crime, not done anything wrong, ahitam chapi, even those who are not their well-wishers, that is maybe they used to put in a lot of efforts to put these ministers down, still even in such a time they used to not give them punishment. So basically, if you see, in short, the ministers also were very righteous. They knew what they did. So only for those who have committed something wrong, they used to punish them, and when it is not needed, they used to not punish at all. So basically there was no partiality. Sarga 8, Dasharatha feels that everything is good, but I am not blessed with a son. Kameshthi. तदहं यष्टुमिच्छामि शास्त्रदृष्टेन कर्मणा कथं प्राप्स्याम्यहं कामं बुद्धिरत्र विचार्यताम्. So he goes and counsels the rishis and his 8 ministers, Vasishtha, Vamadeva and so on. And he says that I want to perform a sacrifice so that I can be blessed with a son. I have all the pleasures in life, but I am not blessed with a son. So therefore you may please find a solution so that this wish of mine can be fulfilled. Sarvya, note this word, Saraiva. Saraiva. Saraivastottare tire yajna bhumir vidhiyatam shantayascha vardhantam yata kalpam yata vidhi. On the northern bank of the Sarayu. Saraivaha cha uttare. On the uttare, on the northern bank of the Sarayu. As per the Kalpashastram. Kalpashastram is a shastra wherein the different rules for doing a sacrifice, the size of the Homakunda, shape of the Homakunda, how all that can be done. All those methods have been mentioned in the Kalpashastra. The knowers of Kalpashastra, they went to the northern bank of Sarayu, and all the rites and rules, the preparation started for doing the Putrakameshti Yajna. Next. Now what is Kalpashastram? Kalpashastram is part of the 6 Vedangas. Shiksha kalpo vyakaranam niruktam chandasam chayah jyotisha mayanam chaiva vedangani shadaivatu. All the people of Ayodhya, they were well versed with all the 6 Vedangas. Out of that, Shiksha, Vyakaranam, Niruktam, Chandas. Chandas is Chandashastram, Kalpaha, Jyotisham. Kalpaha is the knowledge of doing the different sacrifices and so on. Like I told you, the shape of the sacrifice, how that can be done, which place it has to be done, what are the rules for doing that, and so on. So this is the 6 Vedangas. I think rest everything you should know. Vyakaranam is grammar. Niruktam is etymology of words, that is how certain word is originated. Chandas, science of Shastras. Kalpaha is for knowing about these, doing different yajnas. Jyotisham is astrology. Shiksha is how the right words have to be pronounced, that is Shiksha, pronunciation of words, that is in recitation, the right rules of phonetics you can consider. Shiksha is actually phonetics. So these were the 6 Vedangas, and all the people of Ayodhya were well versed in that. Now Kalpa Sutras, you have some reference of the Kalpa Sutras. Now why this has been mentioned here in detail is because to do the Putrakameshti Yajna, there are certain rules that needed to be followed. So therefore the different counselors and experts were called experts of Kalpa Sutras. They were called. One is Srauta Sutras. Srauta. That's why you have certain people who chant the Vedas. They're called as Srautas, right? Or Strautacharyas. We call them, right? Especially in South India, you can see such people. They are well versed in chanting Vedas, not only chanting the Vedic mantras, but also doing the Vedic sacrifices, or the mantras that have to be chanted during sacrifices. So, Srauta Sutras. Then you have Grihya Sutras. Grihya Sutras is household ceremonies. At house you have certain puja, like we have the Griha Pravesha Puja and so on. We have certain rules that are to be followed. Dharma Sutras, as per the laws of the society, there are certain rules which we have to follow. If you are doing something in a society, in an open place, there are certain laws which we have to follow. Sulba Sutras, when you are doing a sacrifice, the Homakunda, the measurements, how it has to be constructed. Some are constructed under the ground, like you have to dig and then the Homakunda has been done. Today we get the Homakunda, you get that and you do the Homa, the ready-made one, or using bricks we do sacrifice. But in earlier times you see, that is the reason sometimes even when the sacrifices are done, you would have seen that the shape of the sacrifice, that is the Homakunda, will be sometimes rectangular, sometimes it is circle, sometimes circular, sometimes it is even in the shape of a bird, and so on. So like this, all this in detail has been mentioned in the Kalpa Sutras. Further, why a yajna has been done? Treta Yuga, in the Dasharatha belonged to the Treta Yuga. In the Treta Yuga, the way of living, like how in the Kali Yuga just merely chanting the names of the Lord leads to moksha. In those times in the Treta Yuga, the performance of sacrifice or yajnas was very very important, and that was the best sacred deed. Yajno vai shreshtatamam karma. Even today also it is there, but it is very difficult in today's times to do a yajna. The least yajna that we can do is maybe a small puja like a Griha Pravesha puja and so on. Beyond that, even for a few minutes we do a yajna also, our eyes start burning, head is paining, this and that we do. And it's because the houses are small, or physically as well as maybe in terms of wealth also it is not possible. Now whenever you do a yajna, the donation also should be in form of gold, cows and all that. Today's times all that is not possible. So therefore in the Treta Yuga the kings used to follow this way of life, and different types of yajnas, Ashwamedha yajna, Putrakameshti yajna, Rajasuya yajna, these different yajnas are done. How to prepare the Agni, what are the people who should be invited, what are their roles, what are the offerings to be made, all that is also mentioned in the Kalpa Sutras. Now you have an example of a Yajna Sutra. You see this is semicircular in shape. Between you can see a pit is dug in between. And so in 4 directions you have the Agni Kunda that is being formed. So like this there are different ways in which the sacrifice can be done. So before doing the Putrakameshti Yajna, all this was studied in detail, how the sacrifice has to take place and so on. Next is, just to give you, now this Srauta Sutra Agnis, Agnihotra, is there anyone who does Agnihotra here? Anyone has this practice? No. But it has to be done actually, but in today's times again we don't do it. Agnihotra should be done by all the people. Morning and evening, Sayam Prar Agnihotram. It is a daily ritual that has to be followed, wherein milk or rice grains is offered with mantras to Agni and Prajapati. This is being done. Next is it is usually done by Grihasthas. Darsha Purnamasam, fortnightly these sacrifices. Chaturmasya time will come now, the 4 months wherein certain sacrifices are done. These are all basic sacrifices that are done. Then you have Soma Yajnas, yearly sacrifice. You have few people who do the Soma Yajnas, they are called Soma Yajnis or Soma Yajnacharya, we call them. That is, it is done by Rajasuyas, that is by kings alone. We have Yudhishthira doing the Rajasuya sacrifice. Even Vajapeya is by Brahmanas and Kshatriyas. Now who can do a Soma Yajna? One who does Ahita Agni is one who is keeping all the 3 sacrifice fires, that is this Agnihotra, Darsha Purnamasa, Chaturmasya. One who has done all these 3 sacrifices, that person is eligible for doing the Soma Yajna. He should be married, he should be a Grihastha, and in the previous 1 or 2 generations also the family should have done the Soma Yajna. And all these different Darsha Purnamasa, Chaturmasya Vrata, all this has to be followed, and there are few people who still do all this, though it seems to be impossible. I myself know a person who does this till date, a very young man, about 30 or 32 or so, recently married, but he is still following that. Of course they live in the natives, but then still they are doing that, being a Grihastha. That yes.
Last month one was performed in Kerala after 150 years.
Sorry?
Last month one Soma Yajna was performed in Kerala after
correct.
150 years.
Yes, correct. So
very nice.
Yeah. So that is, in Kerala you have these the Soma Yajna that, as he said, was being performed there, and very very auspicious to do that. So even till date the Soma Yajna is still being done. Grihya Sutras, Sandhya, Upasana also should be done by Grihasthas, but Upasanam also not many of you do, but especially men should do that if you are a Grihastha. Again, Sandhya is done. Sandhya Vandanam is the basic that is there. So people who boast about saying that we do the Trikala Sandhya Vandana, that is like just a first step. It's like your duty that you have to run, you have to do. But there are so many other things which we don't do at all. But at least a Sandhya Vandana has to be done. And you have monthly rituals also, new moon day, full moon day rituals, yearly rites. You have the different rites that are performed. Let's not get too much into detail, but like this, there are many rites that are being done. So much has been mentioned in the Grihya Sutras and the Kalpa Sutras. All this has to be followed to some extent. At least to our level best, we can follow this, or at least we must know that such certain rituals are meant for certain occasions. All this has been mentioned in the Ramayana in detailed in the Kalpa Sutras. So today time is up. Let us stop here.